You are more than a shining light, and I just wanted you to know. Show it more than the circumstance. You are more than a shining light, and I just wanted you to know. Show it more than the circumstance. You are more than a shining light, and I just wanted you to know. Show it more than the circumstance. You are. You are. You are. You are more than a shining light, and I just. You are more than a shining light, and I just wanted you to know. Show it more.
You are. You are. You are more than a shining light, and I just. You are more than a shining light, and I just wanted you to know. Show it more than the circumstances deny, for the reciprocity, for the mind, steady heart, for the pain, for the takes two I actually have to live. And I can feel my heart beating. Maybe I can hear it. And I can feel my heart beating.
You are
Maybe I can hear it.
more than a shining light, and I just wanted you to know.
Where
Show
were
it
you when everything was falling apart? Piece it back together, putting the habit of some soup in your hand so they can drop it again. Your personality makes me fall for over you begin. Never stumble over the books and what I believe and I read about love. The subject to inquire what could be considered a book to mask myself with what it means. Not to wander away from yourself to be close to you. Only love heals anger. Your guilt and the fear for the destroying what you separate from you with the capabilities. Wasn't the cap at all for the hold some part of yourself for the reserve for the now your exposure for this repressing inside of this energy for the one to keep yourself for the understanding of what you need. Since I met you, I felt abandoned with all your nearness and the nearness of all I felt for the dream, for it was the only thing. With the lightning and I was the tree. The words and fires that burn the best parts of my being, like a branch off for the darkest night. You are more than a shining light, and I just wanted you to know. Show it more than the circumstances deny, for the reciprocity, for the mind, steady heart, for the pain, for the takes two I actually have to live, to say it, to new meaning. Commit to being a student and honest, surrendering. Being compassionate for the understanding and authenticity, for the conviction and ripples of the mixtures to stir me up for the multi directions, and I would not let anything for the regrouping or regrounding. Stabilize, developing the joy of having real love for myself, for the integrity, secure its presence in my soul. Man aspires to win as it did for me. You are. You are more than a shining light, and I just wanted you to know. Show it more than the circumstances deny, for the reciprocity, for the mind, steady heart, for the pain, for the takes two I actually have to live, to say it to new meaning. Commit to being a student and honest, surrendering. Being compassionate for the understanding and authenticity, for the conviction and ripples of the mixtures to stir me up for the multi directions, and I would not let anything for the regrouping or reground. Stabilize, developing the joy of having real love for myself, for the integrity, secure its presence in my soul. Man inspires someone as it did for me. May it save someone like it did me. May it be someone like it made mine. Me, may you love, and you must do anything for yourself, and always someone not to hurt for the someone has given you, even though you didn't. May it be presented for the sight, for the feels to be upon someone, for the sacredness, for the it deserves it always to be. Polished to be embraced, and the giving, it's been given upon you. And grow more than hate for the ever it could be tolerated, for the any space to be exists. Fluence. Inspired the blue color for the love, for the hope, for the weather, for the mother, for the sister, with the gratitude and value, and not lose sight of the beauty. Honor for being the gift for itself, for the present, for the unraveling and the untamed, for the unconscious and influid, for the river through the body, for the never the vain. To not same person is vanity, for the furnace. Harmful, obtain harmless. To harm not harmonious, heavenly, for the habitual behavior and the habits that won't keep the children. From love's honor for the donor. To live to be alive and live into each third of the timeline. Give a pastor a presentation for the proceeds is not proceeds, but that to not to go for the children always is be displaced. Placed evenly for the eventually all events that light, evening through for the nightly. Consistent, Never arrive for the relentless and the malicious, the deprived for the surprise, suppressed, subjected for the ejected, for the nor ejaculated back to the source of the resources, restitution for the relativity, for the relatives and the reveals, restats, enough for the restored, all resorts and all sorts to sort for those to sort out.
You are maybe that for the increment for the star.
You are maybe that for the increment for the star. Revealed and reveals, restats and resorted for the all resorts and sort to sort out what they sowed. Raving the rays, whose ocean goodbye waves and celebrated the waves of the paradox of the days that they could cherish to change the needed for the mail, the needed for the container for the testing, after confessing, the confusing, the confident, for the confined, the conflicting, the feelings and felt for the holding up the belts. Hype that for the perceiving the right to be a slave, that but spit to say the spite for the quenches of the evil thirst to be warned for the words. Words outside the down, but the righteousness, but there was to be right for the others' rights to defend the house of the whites. May I live for the witty, for the writer, for the wilder, for the compulsive liars and those that are alive, for the they're inspired out for the spiral. Spire down for the wicked, the becoming uncontrollable, but I can be the wicker for the after it flickers in the heavenly rations which initiated, innately, innovated. You and overlating you for the heart's doors, hardening, hindering for the tangibly, endearing, ring on the deer for the crow. Now ventilator for the invent, for the innocent, and later sometimes for the savior for the sadly, to trajectory for the tragedy, for the trade, for the trajectory, ejecting for the electing, shocking electricity for the counting, for the 7 seasons, the 4 seasons. And there's sea daughter for the laughter and integral. You are not that for the events of the light through the night, consistent for the never arrive, relentlessly and malicious, and enough for the deprived. Surprise, suppressed, subjected for the ejected, for the nor ejaculated back to the source through the sources. Restitution for the relativity, for the relatives, a reveal for the reveals, a recessive resorter for the all resources, all sorts of the sort out what the divine is sold for the lips of the sorrow. Sorrow for the store, the ages for the stores, and the stores of the rage, and that hasn't slept for the dreams, and that would forget that, but to get them for the flip, the bead, or maybe the forgiveness that was forgery. Allegory, allegations, a gate. The community for the gateway to paradise, and the pair of snake eyes that rule the faith for the into the wrong hands of the reality, illiterate for this is the real iterate. Irate for the beat, for the any rate, for the all faith, for the hate, for the play, for the easy days, for the rough days, for the sun rays that they run away for the sun. Or those that renovate for the other, recuperate for the rationalities, the ration. Anything that's a noun, announce that. After any given engagement for the engagement, meant to be speed for the only need for the deed for the time, for the radar, something radical, enough for the reactivating, for the writer's reluctance, the rebate, the rebellion, for the rebound, for the ravishing, and the ravin, for the only rays and ocean goodbye waves, as they were celebrated for the ways of the paradox. You to paraphrase that for the para, for the phrase of the phase, of the that can cherish a day. Lay back for the day, for the A's, and never change that need for the meter, for the millimeter, for the meteor, for the even to be, for that contender, for the testing of the confess, and not confusing enough for the confident, for the confined, for the conflicting, for the feelings, and all about that for the belts of the appetite, but you can find that right and wrong. Perceive right to misled, for the right to spit that say. Respite the quenches for the evil thirst, and never warn for the worst, and warned enough for the worst words, for the only the worth outside none for the righteousness, but you can find that right for the other rights to defend the house of the rights. And may live that for to be weightier than the ladder, for the water, for the compulsive liars that are the lie. They're liars, inspired for the spiraled out and inspired. Wicked become uncontrollable for the whatever the splitting over that for the ration of use learn. Innovative for the ovulating of you, for the hearts and doors are open. I want to be near you. Developing the joy, having the real love for myself, for the integrity, for the secure, for the presence of the soul, for the inspired someone as it did me, for the saving of someone like it did me, or maybe someone like it did for the way that you love. You must do anything for the yourself. Someone you cannot hurt, for the someone who's given you, for the even though you didn't, for the presented, for the sight, for the feels that be upon you, for someone who's sacred enough for the deserving of what has always been polished and embraced. Giving for the always given into the palm, and you grow with more than hate that ever can be tolerated for the enough of the space that exists there, for the influence of inspired, for the blue, color, love, hope, the mother, sister, gratitude, value, news, sight, beauty, honor, gift, present, unraveled, untamed, this consciousness, this gratitude, river, body, never, vain, same, person, vanity, varnish, harmful, obtain, harmless to harm, harmonious and heavenly, habitual behavior, honor that donor, live to be alive, living for the each day, third for the any timeline. It would pass with the presentation, the proceeding, the not proceed for the only with the children always to be displaced, place, evenly, eventually, events, light, through, consistent, arrived, relentless,
deprived, surprised, suppressed, subjected, ejected with no ejaculation for the source of resources, restitutions of relativity, revealed, recess, resorted for the all resources, sort out what they sown, lips to the sorry in store for ages and stories, and that has that rage and hasn't slept for the dreams, to forget, you get them, fifth the pleaders, forgiveness and forgery, allegation.
You are maybe that for the increment for the star.
Getting no message is the same as a message, and when you effort to interpret the ways and defining yourself, for this is the best way to define for the found, for the world, for the never the privilege, and always have an idea for the God and cover. Getting no message is the same as a message, and when you effort to interpret the ways and defining yourself. Getting no message is the same as a message. Getting no message is the same as a message, and when you effort to interpret the ways and defining yourself, for this is the best way to define for the found, for the world, for the never the privilege, and always have an idea for the God and cover, for the waking up of the everyone, for the wrenching of the weather, your dream state, for the paranoid. New mind for this is all still, for the sadly and lonely, for the world of last. You still have a lot of time for to make up for yourself for what you want. Getting no message again is also a message. It took me a while to understand that, for anyone to ask me what is hell, but I would answer for the distance to people who love each other. I was glad. I was an eye smiling for the image to be never forgiving the fake smile, for it to be impossible for the eyes to twinkle if you weren't feeling the twinkle between yourself and the mouth, for the something is different for the fake mouth at all, for the smile. Anytime you want, for the simply moving your lips, and I have learned. A real smile always has an eye. A smile to go with it for the soul. Watch out. When someone smiles at you with the mouth that beat for the eyes, it'll stay the same for the sure to be a phony for the enough to be the other telephone for the call you, for the everyone should be a smile for life. It's really isn't that serious enough for to make it this hard. Hard rises for the sunrise or the sunsets. We just tend to be complicated through the process. But maybe it's the suffering, the kindness in the words, for the creates the confidence, for the kindness in thinking, that creates the profoundness, and enough for the kindness to be given to creating. What's that worst thing I could soul? Slowly for the only piece of the other people's life, for I could be wasted enough for the time for the hurt, for some way, for I could find that for the stealing of it, what you could find for the time, for the people, but you can get that back. I could resist anything except communication, for the listen to the silence, and it has so much to say. You don't see my pain, but doesn't mean it's not there. And that change to be scared enough for to know what's scary, for allowing the fear to stop from growing, but evolving and progressing. I give us a pro for this. You ever think about the time you can find some milk to meet someone for the comparing the way you guys are not for the airplanes getting there for the happen for this to be the last and simply to find the building the part for this to be the spiritual teaching for the finger to the point and end it. Forward you for the reality but not for the self. True for the mature relationship with the spiritual teaching, and you requires not to apply, but this to be the simply to apply, but to simply believe in it. How could you call it love when it hurts so bad? It was love because it was all worth it. And now I understood. This maybe was death, but death with the silence that gave back no answer. Cheer myself up for the best way to cheering somebody else. I can call it love when it hurts so bad, but it was love because it was worth it. But it may be the mortal for it was the heart for the never stopping and loving. For it was the time to stop beating for the moral, for it was never the time for the time that comes, and never the wasted short time for the giving and walking of the surf, surrounding myself with what I love and aim and trust. But you are what you thought you were. I've been staying awake these nights wondering if I should tell you this. If I, the ocean, or if the ocean can calm itself, so you can you for the both, for the salt water, for the mix with the air, and meditation for the seeing the worst. I still think you the best, for the not to be ashamed for what you fell in love with, the someone to stop loving me, for this to be the only corporate purpose of defining X, and this is because of the paths of the cross in the middle for the separating the end. It's not too easy to see the X crossed out, for it's not that, for the way they're crossing out something like a diagram, two paths. Maybe everybody in the whole world is scared of each other, for this would be the place. The days are long, but the years are short. And maybe you should learn to love, for here to be the way for the wanting to be loved. Life is too short for the if it was a moment to follow your passion, to do something that matters to you, but the is it isn't now. The moment is. You are happy in the place, the palace. Not to be the night, for this to be the more for the anything else, or to stop wasting the energy of someone who doesn't give about me. beautiful in your own way. Compared with them, for the beautiful is different, for they are beautiful too. Their story is unique and different without the comparison. But I had never been in love, so maybe I have, and I never had my heart broken in this way. But just because a person hasn't broken my heart, but it doesn't mean that I haven't been heartbroken. For this is the end for the breaking of our own hearts, and this is the way we see ourselves, and this is the body for the making them look into the social acceptable, for all the breaks in the part, for the accept myself at the end for the worst. Or maybe the enemy for the living inside of the not-end cycle, for the dislike for the toward myself, and then with the ourself and enough for the weather, but not, and you look inside the brain for whatever you confront inflicting with the pain on you. Or how lucky I am to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard. I want to be around those things. Not to be around the people who judge and talk about what people do, for the around the people that dream, support, and things that do the things that and I can be about for the month, for that you could be the owner to focus on the 24 hours of the day, for the getting close to where I want to be. These poems never said so much, but I had enough of the creativity when it published inside of my mind. Two things I could never do was chase that true friends and the true love. But if I sit in the rain, maybe I could drown in something other than my own thoughts. I know the only way I can accept losing her is if she can continue to hold her by the holding by hold her by the camp and somehow nurse her, eat your way. Getting no message is the same as a message, and when you ever to interpret the
Getting no message is the same as a message, and when you ever to interpret the ways and defining yourself, but this is the best way that I can find for the found, for the world, for the never the privilege, and always have an idea for the God. And I can feel my heart beating. Maybe I can hear it. And where were you when everything was falling apart? And I can feel my heart beating. Maybe I can hear it. And where were you when everything was falling apart? Can you piece it back together, putting the happiness into the people's hand, for they can drop it again? For your personality makes me fall for over you again. For the opera, never stumble over the books and the what I can believe. And I read about love, but the subject to inquiry, but it could be considered a book that you can match myself with what it means. Not to wander away from yourself to get close to you. Only love heals anger. You'll get in the fear for the only destroying what you separate from you and the capabilities. It wasn't a cap at all for the hold some part of yourself for the reserve, to deny your exposure for this to be repressing inside of its energy, for the one to keep yourself in the understanding of what you need to know. Since I met you, I felt abandoned with all your nearness, and the nearness of all I felt for the dream, for it was the only thing. You were the lightning and I was the tree. And the words and the fires that burned the best parts of my being, like the branch off for the darkest nights to produce that brightest star. The rain upon me, maybe everybody, the whole world will find themselves scared for you to have the absence of going through, for the nothing, for the needle, for the everything that sticks, for the color, for the how close I am to losing. Anything for the me, for the well, for the everything, for the appealing, for the observation to yourself, for the making you real. I am not that, for the every after time. The sun never says to me, for the earth you owe me, for the look what happens, and nothing looking at the whole sky, for I am not for the only the falling in love, for this is sometimes the feeling for the building up, for it never happens, the experience is only the first time again. Your airplane will fly for the plainly enough for the sense for the love to be able for the gently drifting inside of existence from wanting to. The happiness and only depending upon the quality of the thoughts and music, the place when I drift off in the imagination, but the other can happen inside of that for the focusing of what I want for this to be the love, for the really crying life, for the know, for the use is sarcastic and enough for the passion. Imaginable for the place to share it with you, for the this be effective enough for the action, the quiet reflection for the quiet enough for the effective action. The reason to find it so hard enough for the people to be happy enough for the sleep for the better for it. Only was representing the worst and it was the future resolved and able will be. Put it this way, for you remember the number one for the even the number two for the you number one for the Bible bothering for the ring of the past and they cannot be made into the present. She was a gift. Nice to be one for everything wrong and the wrong person to give it to me. Sometimes I feel in your eyes, though I can be coding in the direction of only you could be superficial, but not even what you're supposed to be. Supposed to say for the just be the deeper part for the part to worry their dreams. And moving along, the thinking this, I hardly notice the split for this, and sometimes it feels as though for the honest two whole different people that could have ripped apart at any second my soul. Ask that one life for the living for the apology, regretting for the questioning, for the hating and you maybe the dying. They're running after people who don't see me. Be brave. Believe in me for the whatever, or do the good it takes for this to happen, for the making myself proud. Love is always patient and kind, for never jealous enough, for the love is never be the bill only. I can be the offense and you can take no pleasure for the delight. Whatever that comes, it could be right enough for the delight. It's dear self. My history written more for the winner, for the culture in the class, and obliterated for the owner to be the writing of their history. Despair is conquered. What history? Your lies agreed upon for the ending of what you can find the beginning, but just don't know where the only the time. The pleasures are the cheapest. Up in the sky, just like me, for the wondering why everything I can find for the heart to feel the way it is to be next to yours. Everyone leaves and reach out for the person you're trying to reach, and this will be right there waiting. Flexible about those methods, methodical to understanding it because I love you, I care about you, and I want you back. Scars are not in vain. It's easy for someone to joke about the scars if they've never been cut. I wanted to show it more than the circumstances denied the reciprocity to my steady heart and pain. It takes to actually have to live, to say it, to show, to mean it, and commit to being student to all, to the surrender and the being compassion, understanding the offense, to be with conviction and the representing mixed with all that to be the most of the right, to let anything not reboot my design. And what was the steady sound for this to be? Secures his presence in the soul, for the maybe it aspires someone as did for me, for the maybe as someone for the someone that made it for the you to love me, for the almost to anything, for the this be the someone, for the hurt, for the someone's giving you all was who you didn't, but the presenting of the light sight feels to be something upon for the sacredness.